Welcome into another video. This time we're going over quarterbacks. I have 10 quarterbacks that's coming up here in the 2024 NFL draft that could be fantasy relevant eventually in your dynasty leagues. Guys, I'm gonna go over things that I do like about them, some things that I don't like about them. Can't wait to break these guys down. Let's get into this video. The first guy I want to talk about here is Jaden Daniels, the quarterback out of LSU. I think he's somebody that could be a special talent in the NFL for fantasy football purposes. It's yet to see if he's going to be a great NFL quarterback, but I think for fantasy football, he's going to be blazing you with some numbers. Let's look at some of his stats here. He's 6'4". He's 210 pounds, 3,812 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, and let's say it, along with 1,134 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. This guy is a prime time dual threat at the quarterback position. And when you have somebody at the quarterback position that could be a dual threat like that, the rushing yard ability is going to give you such a high floor. It's going to help you week in and week out become some type of monster in the playoffs. So as you're leading on through there and you're kicking through the season, you know Jaden Daniels eventually has the opportunity of leading you to the playoffs and giving you a great run, because if you have a quarterback with a high floor, you're destined to win some football. So let's keep it going here. We're talking about he's just a very explosive. He's a very elusive runner. I love the way that he runs. He's kind of have that smooth throwing motion, really quick at the release point. You know, he leads his targets with anticipation and touch. He's really poised in the pocket, especially under pressure. I love his footwork in the pocket. You know, when somebody's drifting back and forth, and you know that it doesn't matter if the pass rush is coming, he could still find his guy. I like what I see there. We're talking about his speed now. Let's talk about 4.5 40-yard dash. Has that natural speed. You know, very impressive arm strength. It just allows him to throw to all three levels of the field with ease. I love what I see there. He's very good when throwing on the run while maintaining focus downfield, easily takes the check down when needed, and doesn't really force into those bad decisions. Now there's also, even though there's also some things that I do like about Jaden Daniels, there's also some things that kind of could get him in trouble. One of the things is his deep ball accuracy. Sometimes when he's throwing down the field, he just really needs to be better reading those first, second, third reads and be able to deliver a deep ball if he needs to. Sometimes he may be overthrowing the receiver, underthrowing the receiver, but he just needs to clean up a little bit of that. Seems to be uncomfortable. You know, if he can't find anyone open really after his third read, what is he doing? Is he going to make a good decision? He's going to throw an interception in the NFL. The game is going to be a lot faster. I just want to see how he develops. Let's move into the next quarterback that I got here. And that's going to be Caleb Williams, the quarterback out of USC. He's like a generational type of talent here. 3,633 passing yards last season with 30 touchdowns. He's a 6'1", 216-pound quarterback. I love that. You know, 115 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. He really improvises on the fly. You know, he's a very athletic type of quarterback. He can be a running threat, you know, with the football if needed, if the team really needs him to do that, which again is going to help you with fantasy football. Progression through his reads are really elite. He tends to find the open man, strong ability to escape the pressure and really extend the play. Overall, he has elite arm talent, which helps him make pretty much any throw when he's off balance. You know, he gives me those Patrick Mahomes vibes. You know, he tries to do a lot. You know, sometimes that can really be, they can kind of hurt you in fantasy football. He can have a lot of mistakes, especially in the NFL. What I said earlier with Jaden Daniels, the speed of football is a lot faster in the NFL, and I'm hoping that Caleb Williams doesn't, you know, really hurt himself too much with those kind of errant throws, because he wants to force the ball in all the time. Look at some of the negatives here. We're talking about Caleb Williams. He just throws across the field way too much. You know, he needs better anticipation with those throws. Sometimes it's really amazing anticipation. Sometimes I'm really just wondering what the heck was he thinking out there. So, you know, sometimes he just really tries to do too much because he has tons of confidence in his ability to throw the football. You know, you look at people like Brett Favre and Patrick Mahomes. They just always knew, oh, I can just fit the ball in there with a tight window. Caleb Williams has that confidence, but it could lead him to some disaster. So, you know, he throws off his back feet way too often when he's facing this pressure. He really doesn't have prototypical size at 6'1". We're talking about maybe like Drew Brees type height, but he hasn't really played under center as much in his career. A lot of times he's in that shotgun. You know, we'll see how he has to transform that in the NFL, because he's gonna have to be under center most of the time. Williams also tends to hold the ball really too loosely away from his body. He needs to protect the ball a lot more for those strip sacks, when he's moving around all over the place, when they got the edge rush coming on, he's escaping the pocket. A lot of times if he has the ball, just hold it out there, they're going to get an easy strip sack, turnover. He's not going to like that. Neither will his coach. So he needs to clean up some of those things as he gets into the NFL. Moving right along to the next quarterback, we're going over Drake May, the quarterback out of UNC. I think he's another guy that could be really, really good for fantasy football. He's got all the tools needed. So going over some of his tape, this guy's a 6'4", 229-pound quarterback, 3,608 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, along with 449 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. He's got a good accuracy. He's definitely on the intermediate throws of what I've seen, especially even outside of the pocket. So he possesses good quickness to escape those pressure, pick up those extra yardage. You can see that with the rushing ability there. He boasts a very strong arm strength, delivering throws, very high velocity outside the numbers and deep downfield. Love that. Superb type of accuracy across all 3 levels of the field. He's aware where his check down is at all times, and he's not afraid to use it if the play starts to break down. I like to see that, especially in fantasy football. People who try to, throw under too much duress because they're like, I can make this throw, ends up throwing an interception. The guy can use his check down. I like what I see. That's already maturity in my book. So he has a nice fluid type of release. I like what I see overall from this guy and what he can provide for you. He creates, like I said, those high velocity on those throws. He puts up solid numbers despite having one of the worst offensive lines in college football in 2022. Whenever you come into the NFL, I'm hoping he has some type of decent offensive line, because he could probably outperform a lot of these quarterbacks on the list if he just had somebody blocking in front of him. Back in North Carolina, he didn't have those type of offensive line in front of him to give him the time, and yet he still produced. Some of the things I don't like about Drake May, he needs to improve a little bit on his anticipation. It's not where I really would like to see it. He gets confused at times with certain blitzes. Recognition of some of those blitzes needs to improve. He needs to speed up on those progressions, going from the first to the second to the third read. He really just stares down his receiver a little bit too long before moving on into his progression. So that's something he can learn. That's something he can be coached up on. I think he can do it. He's a smart quarterback and a good quarterback, and I can't wait to see what he provides. So let's move on to the next quarterback here. We're talking about Bo Nix, the quarterback out of Oregon. This guy he was with Auburn, moved over to Oregon, and he ended up kind of flourishing in that kind of spread type of offense. Now let's look at Bo Nix. He is a 6'2", 213-pound quarterback, 4,508 yards passing, 45 touchdowns, along with 234 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns. Like I said, he did transfer from Auburn, where he wasn't as good. He kind of didn't produce as much, but when he went over to Oregon, it really helped his development overall. He throws a very, very good ball with good velocity, very accurate in the short and intermediate game, good timing, and he does throw with the anticipation that I like to see. He thrives in empty sets and executes with precision in that 2-minute drill, which is what I really do like to see from these quarterbacks, especially when you may be losing in the game. You need some fantasy points at the end, some garbage time. Can he execute to end up going to win a game? And I think he can do that. Bo Nix did it. Now, like I said, he's in that spread option, so he's going to have to learn how to play under center a little bit more, but I think Bo Nix, he has the smarts to do that. I know a lot of people may not have Bo Nix as high as I do, but just all the tape that I've seen, I really like what he's doing, especially hopefully in the NFL. So he can really easily manipulate defenders with his eyes, what I really like to see. He has an innate ability really to extend plays with his legs. He's really a threat in that pro situation. So he really likes to hold safeties and linebackers, like I said, with his eyes, which I really do like. He creates those passing lanes when he does that. If you can look off a safety and open up at your receiver just by your eyes, that's amazing. I think Bo Nix does a good job there. He does have decent arm strength. It's compact, got a quick release point with his passes, and that's something that you want to see in fantasy football. So he needs to be able to improve on progressing to the next wide receiver. His feet seem to be in quicksand almost sometimes while he's in the pocket. I'd like to see him kind of move more while working through his progressions and not just rely on just sprinting out to the sideline and do something with his legs. His reliance on the sideline cues before the snaps, raises some questions for me. A lot of times those coaches were telling him what the play was. He needs to have the ability to lead a complex NFL offense independently and not have a coach on the sideline really telling the guy what to do. So those are some things he needs to clean up. I think overall, I think he can get that. It's just going to be something where I just want to see it happen on the field at first. He's not one of these crisp quarterbacks like I had the Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, or or Drake May up there. So he's not up in that kind of echelon. He's kind of my next tier quarterbacks that I like, but I do like Bo Nix out of Oregon. Let's talk about the next quarterback we have here is Michael Penix coming out of Washington, another quarterback that I really do like overall. He's a little older than a lot of these other quarterbacks, but I think he's shown, especially going up into the national championship game, that he can provide some type of spark for an offense and could be fantasy relevant. Look at some of his height and weight here. We got 6'3", 213 pounds, 4,903 passing yards, and 36 touchdowns, 8 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he did pretty well with passing the football, but you notice he really doesn't run the football very much. So it doesn't have much of a high floor some of these other quarterbacks we talked about. You know, he can sense pressure in the pocket very well. He has that natural drift about him to be able to just sway over just enough time to get the receiver the football, quick release, make some tremendous NFL caliber type of throws. An excellent game manager, you know, big arm strength, effortlessly really just slings the ball all over the field. Seems to be able to dissect defensive alignments pre-snap, which is what I really do like to see. If you can kind of see what's going on in that offense and really say, okay, I have this guy, and this guy, these should be my reads. It should help him develop as a quarterback and definitely give you the fantasy points that you need. He's able to throw those deep balls very well. He's got some nice touch on those intermediate routes. He throws very good. He's very quick on his progressional reads throughout. He has shown that he has a short memory after he's making some mistakes. It's almost like you don't even see that he's kind of thinking about that anymore. He kind of shrugs it off, and that's what you want to see in a quarterback. He's shown toughness in the national championship game after visually being hurt. I mean, this guy was smoked by Michigan, and he was still sitting there throwing the football in there for his team. Even walking off the field after the loss, you saw him, he was holding his side. He was hurt, but he was still out there playing, and that's what you want. Fantasy football, if your guys are going to be hurt all the time, he's not making you any points. Michael Penix, if he ends up being something in the NFL, could be solid for you because you know he has a high pain tolerance. So some of the things that are working against Penix now, we're talking about his age, right? His age, he's up there. He's not one of these young bucks anymore. You know, it's really working against him. He really has no big mobility outside of the pocket. So something that we need to be aware of there. Getting pressure on Penix is really the key to disrupt all of his decision making. And that's what we saw out of Michigan. So if he goes to a team with a battle line, he's going to have a very shaky career. He has an extensive injury history, you know, including multiple ACL tears, with you know, just raises questions about his durability and if he's able to withstand some of this pass rush that the NFL is going to give him. It's going to be kind of rough for him. So let's move on to the next quarterback. We're going to talk about Michael Pratt. He's going to be out of Tulane, a quarterback that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but I think he has a lot of special capabilities about him. The dude is 6'3", 220 pounds, 2,406 yards passing, 22 passing touchdowns, 286 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. He's got some nice athleticism about him with good NFL type of size. He played in all 4 seasons at Tulane with 90 passing touchdowns compared to only 26 interceptions. He also had 28 rushing touchdowns go on top of that total while he was there at Tulane. He's got okay arm strength. You know, he's got nice shoulder tilt to provide more accurate throws down the field. He's great at manipulating the defense with his eyes, quickly recognizing deep opportunities, which I really like to see. It takes a good combination of both, you know, a safe floor and high risk plays, which I really do like. So one of the things, if I have to say, that was not as well as what I'd like to see out of Pratt was his just his elite arm strength. I don't see him really like taking the bombs down the field. Slow delivery, really based on his throwing mechanics. You know, he has shown to rush throws even when in the end zone. You know, he needs to have a better deep ball, which I think that will develop as well as he kind of strengthens up a little bit and being able to push the ball down the field. Like I said earlier, he just has okay arm strength, nothing elite about it. And he doesn't have a good chance or a good change of direction, you know, when carrying the ball himself. You know, if he's got to bring the ball down and run the ball, he's going to go straight forward. He's either going to slide or just lower his shoulder. He's not really going to be juking and jiving nobody out there. He really needs to develop his throw on the run type of ability. Something that, you know, I like out of my quarterbacks is having a nice safe floor, and that safe floor can come with the rushing ability. So Pratt can give you that. You know, I think he can, but he just needs to develop a little bit more recognition and how to kind of juke and jive a little bit more than what the little big old lanky guy is doing out there. But I think overall Pratt's a decent quarterback. Coming out of Tulane's got a lot to learn. He's not going to come out of the gates running and gunning and leading no team to championship, but somebody you can put on your bench and hopefully ends up being something. So the next quarterback I have on my list is J.J. McCarthy. He's that quarterback out of Michigan, led his team to the national championship. A lot of people like him a lot better than I do. There's a lot of things about McCarthy that I really don't like, that I think that he needs a lot of work on. That's why I have him down here. He's probably like the 7th quarterback that I'm going over at this point. I don't have per se any rankings right now, but I know McCarthy's lower down on my quarterback list as of right now. Look at McCarthy's 6'3", 202 pounds, 2,991 yards passing, with 22 passing touchdowns, 202 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. So good arm strength. He can make all the throws. Great at extending the plays. Has very good deep ball accuracy. Nice pocket presence. In high pressure situations. He's excellent in the play action situations. He can sell the play action well. Just amazing throwing mechanics. There's a lot of things that he does do well, but there's a lot of things that he doesn't do so well. Let's go over a couple of those for you right now, so just so you know where I'm standing at. This guy, he just overall decision making, he just needs to improve overall, especially on those intermediate routes. He also needs a little bit better touch when throwing on certain routes. So sometimes I just see he's just panic throwing out there, throwing over people's heads. It's just, I just didn't like to see what I saw from JJ McCarthy, but he doesn't really see anyone, open a lot of times when he's panicking, and he just throws a poor placement type of ball, a bad situation, ends up throwing an interception. So pre-snap diagnosis definitely needs some improvement. Being able to recognize if a blitz coming or where the blitz is coming from, is it going to be a corner blitz or not? I just don't see that he has the recognition that you need right now. He needs to work, and he needs to develop on that. So move right along to the next quarterback. Let's go over Jordan Travis, that quarterback out of Florida State. Somebody, again, that a lot of people like a lot more than I do. I think Jordan Travis is going to be an okay quarterback, because you definitely saw him when he ended up getting hurt. The Florida State struggled a little bit, right? They were over there. They dominated an LSU team early on week 1 of the season, and then he ended up playing very, very well. Then when he got hurt, Florida State really struggled. Look at some of his characteristics here. We got 6'1", 212 pounds, 2,755 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 176 rushing yards at 7 touchdowns. He's really able to improvise on the fly at a high rate. He's got good accuracy both in the pocket and on the run, which I do like to see. Quick release, with the football, I really like that. Florida State really took a step back, like I said. When you have a team and you're leading these guys, and a key component gets hurt like your quarterback, if they're able to keep on and still winning football games and not look bad, then he probably wasn't a good quarterback, more of a game manager. Florida State visually looked worse without Jordan Travis. So he was a key part of this football team, and he is a good quarterback. So keep it right along here. We're talking about, he has a calm demeanor about him, both when he's passing, running out the pocket. You don't see him really panicking too much, which I really like to see. Good ball security and having those elite throwing mechanics. It's just very quick, very compact, and he gets the ball where he needs to do. Great positioning on his receivers. Gives them an opportunity to have those run, after the catch, is what I really like to see overall from the guy. If I had to say some knocks about Jordan Travis, most likely it's probably going to be his size, right? So undersized, really slow through his progressions, 1, 2, 3. You want to see this guy make a decision, say, oh, is he open? No, go on to my next guy. He just waits too long at times for a receiver to get open before really going to that next guy in his progression. I said really good accuracy early on. It's not great accuracy because you just really see too many balls sailing over the receiver's heads, and I don't like to see that. He needs to improve in that area for sure. He lacks a lot of awareness on backside rushers, leads to a lot of sacks. He doesn't really feel that pressure about him. Makes those reckless decisions that really compromise his ball security. If you are in the pocket and you feel a little bit of pressure and you're kind of moving out the pressure, you got to know somebody's on your backside. If not, it's either going to be a strip sack or just a regular sack, and it's putting your team in some danger, and I don't like to see that. He needs to develop a little bit more in the NFL, and I think that he will. He's a smart quarterback. We'll see what he does. Moving on to the next quarterback here, we're talking about Spencer Rattler. This guy... It's an interesting story about this guy, right? So he ended up being with South Carolina Gamecocks, but there's a lot of things that go with this guy. Let's go over some of his features real quick. 6'1", 217 pounds, 3,186 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, with 104 yards rushing with 4 touchdowns. He's got elite arm strength, I'm telling you guys, really elite here. He's got a fluid release, able to escape the pressure, make big throws, able to use his feet to really extend the plays. He started at Oklahoma. He got booted away in favor of Caleb Williams, right? He should be a sleeper in the draft. The dude was highly touted, and he was supposed to be Oklahoma's guy. It just so happened he got booted out of a generational talent type of Caleb Williams coming through. But I think overall, Spencer Rattler, we forget of what he was and what he was early on in his college career. If we look at it, he really could just be that sleeper that everybody's looking for. I love watching this guy throw on the run. It's so smooth. He can either be a mobile quarterback or a pocket passer. He has the ability to be both. His ball placement is really elite. He shows good anticipation. He steps up in the pocket really nicely, keeping his eyes downfield, and that's always going to give you the most points is fantasy football if you're always feeling the rush and you know you have to escape. If you just drop your eyes and just worry about where you're going to run from, you're leaving a lot of yards on the field. And Spencer Rattler is good at keeping his eyes downfield, not worrying about the pass rush, and that's going to give up good opportunities. A lot of people are sleeping on Spencer Rattler, but I think that he can do something, put him in a good situation where he can learn from a veteran. You could be talking about Spencer Rattler one day as being a top fantasy quarterback, and I strongly believe that. Let's look at some of the negative guys we're talking about Spencer Rattler for here. Decision making, pocket composure, really being blitzed. It's something that he needs to work on, right? So when he's getting out of the pocket, he's good at keeping his eyes downfield, but he's too fast of getting out of the pocket in the first place. Mechanical footwork really needs some development. Sometimes it's not choppy enough. He almost forgets to move his feet a little bit. He needs to chop it up, look it up like that. I think that's going to be really good for him. Seems to really lock onto his main target sometimes, which it really causes him to miss some easy throws of people that are actually open. You know, he needs to get back to his 2020 form really in order to find some type of success in the NFL. Like I said, in 2020, he ended up getting over there Oklahoma. He's looking really good. The guy was phenomenal. Everybody's like, yeah, Rattler. He was huge up in Oklahoma. And it only started when he started making some mistakes and Caleb Williams was on there. They started chanting for Caleb Williams, wanting Williams on the field. Rattler ends up getting booted out. He ends up going to South Carolina, having a decent college career, but never what he was back in 2020. Let's talk about the last quarterback we have here. We're talking about Joe Milton out of Tennessee. The dude is a 6'5", 235 pound quarterback, 2,813 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 299 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns rushing. You know, he's shown really some flashes of amazing quarterback play. He's got exceptional arm strength, quick throwing motion. You know, he can zip the ball across the field with a blink of an eye. You know, good pocket awareness, especially under pressure. You know, accurate throws on the run. He needs to process his reads faster, but he is hard to tackle out of the pocket. When he does move out, even though he's not going through his reads fast enough and he starts to escape because he's kind of panicking a little bit, the dude's phenomenal. I'm telling you, there's sometimes you see him, you're like, whoa, this guy is a top quarterback. There's other times you're like, what the heck is this dude doing? So we don't really know what we're getting out of Milton, you know, whether he could stay healthy or not. That's going to be a key question. But overall, Milton has the tools to be a good quarterback. Will he be able to put it all together? I think it's going to be on the coaching staff, whatever team he ends up with, to be able to coach this guy up and make him the quarterback that we all think that he can be. Look at some of the negatives that we got here for Milton. We're talking about he was really benched due to, you know, poor performance several times. You know, that's worrisome right there. Why is your starting quarterback getting benched several times because you have poor performance? You know, his overall accuracy, they need to be worked on a little bit, right? He either overshoots or underthrows his receivers way too often for me. He needs to throw more with more anticipation. I am big on anticipation type of throws. He's quick to leave the pocket and run instead of stepping up in the pocket and letting that play develop, right? You want to sometimes be able to have that pocket come around you like this, and you got to be able to suck back in there. Give yourself a couple more seconds for your receivers to do some juking and jiving to get open. Sometimes he likes to really run out to the outside too much. So stuff that he has to work on. As always, thank you for watching the video as we keep pumping out multiple videos each and every week to help you dominate your dynasty drafts, to help you dominate your redraft leagues, to help you dominate in keeper leagues. It doesn't matter what you're playing. This channel on the Bayou Bengal Fantasy Network is going to help you win a championship. Guys, hit the subscribe button, really close to 800 subscribers. Hit the like button on the video, really helps out with the algorithm, and leave a comment down below. I like to go back and forth with you guys. What do you agree with? What do you don't agree with? Let me know. Let's have a conversation and let's win together. Guys, see you on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.